Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy Fears. We are back with a talk video, and we've got ourselves our second Gungan Captain Tarpals. Standard stuff here, our kit reveal. We'll look at the insights and tips, and then we'll do our breakdown and analysis. No gearing because that hasn't been added to the game yet, but maybe we'll revisit at a later point. Right now, let's get started. Captain Tarpals is joining Boss Nass as a light side Gungan attacker. With the attributes, he's going to be a heavy damage dealer. He's going to dispel on basic, which I always like, and he's going to have additional damage to buffed enemies. Ouch time, that is going to deal AoE true damage. That's going to scale on the number of debuffs, so we start to see that debuff and buff synergy that was brought up during the Boss Nass kit reveal. And then he's going to be a territory battle Omicron character. Now with the tips portion, Tarpals special, no given up can scale highly based on those debuffs, so apply as many as possible before using. That's a hint that turn order is probably going to be important here. Utilize no given up to mark high priority targets. He's going to gain powerful benefits when the shield generator is active, so make sure to protect it. And Tarpals will counterattack enemies that are debuffed and deals true damage based on his max protection when attacking out of turn. With the frequently asked questions portion, there's only one thing here that I want to highlight, and that CG does note that we are going to have a Galactic Challenge theme based on them. That was predictable. That's fairly common when we get new factions into the game. They don't mention anything about assault battles. I'm kind of hoping we do get something. I want to see that game mode built out a little bit more. And I do want to emphasize here that this is why I do emphasize that all players, even newer players, should be building out these new characters up to at least level 50 gear 8, because that might mean more resources, and you don't want to leave resources on the table because resources beget more resources. You want to get as many as possible, and even going to level 50 gear 8, that might be the difference between one crate and another crate. So level 1, level 0, it's something that is really old-fashioned within this game that I hope players soon start to abandon. Level 50 is not that expensive even for a newer account. Now on to our kit breakdown and analysis. The basic ability, Hey Yusa, deal physical damage to the target and inflict shock. If the target had any buffs, dispel them and deal damage in additional time, and Gungan allies gain advantage for 2 turns. So any dispel on basic I think is huge. We've been seeing this a lot lately, and I always welcome it. These characters can make a huge difference. The additional damage, that's a fine bonus, but it's not the key here. There's a reason why someone like Embo is better on a Jabba squad than the other options, because of what that basic dispel can offer us. So I'm glad we start seeing this here on this Gungan faction. The first special ability, Ouch Time, it has a cooldown of 4. Now this is the one that was mentioned with the insights and tips portion. Deal AoE true damage, dealing 10% more damage per debuffed enemy. So this first portion here suggests that Tarpals should not be the fastest Gungan in turn order. We will want Boss Nass to apply the debuffs to the field first, so that when Tarpals can follow up, he has that big damage attack. Next, the ability will AoE remove 10% turn meter and inflict stagger on enemies without debuffs. On separatist enemies without debuffs, inflict stun, and that's unresistible. And that means someone like Droideka, who's going to cleanse, put up that damage immunity, now Droideka is going to be stunned, negating a lot of the problems that Droideka is adding to matches. Next part here is remove 2 stacks of recharge from allied shield generator. This ability can't be evaded. So overall, this is a big, powerful ability, and it's the first turn ability. Nothing here is scaled on protection or health, so we don't benefit from waiting to use it, and it inflicts a lot of control with the turn meter removal, the staggers, and the stuns. And it's going to remove recharge from generator, which means, if you remember from Boss Nass's leadership, Tarpals is aiding in the removal of recharge, which in turn is increasing the max protection of all Gungans and having all those downstream effects based on that. The second special, No Given Up, this is another cooldown of 4 ability. Deal physical damage to the target, dealing 10% more damage per debuff on the enemy, and call the target other ally to assist. And if you remember from Boss Nass's unique, that every attack out of turn turn is going to inflict speed down, which from that unique also reduces offense and crit chance. And this is just adding and spreading the debuff synergy of the Gungan faction. Gungan allies will also gain crit damage up and recover 25% protection. These are some nice throw-ins. Always nice to get a little bit of extra damage, but the protection recovery adds survivability to the squad in an unexpected place. This ability is also going to inflict marked on the target enemy who doesn't already have it, and that is relevant because if the target is separatist, we will also be inflicting the enemy leader with marked, which can't be dispelled, evaded, or resisted. And this is going to be pretty damaging and threatening to a general Grievous squad, where Jedi Knight Revan is already an extremely effective counter. We use those marks so that we can ignore certain characters and just focus down on Grievous. This gives us it built into the Gungan faction. Now we do need to address though that the cooldowns on these specials are big, which to me means one or two things. It means that they may have such massive damage that we need to be held back from using them too frequently, or it means that there will be a future Gungan that reduces cooldowns on the squad. Could even be Jar Jar with a Grand Arena Ami. The unique ability, Misa, think of something. I really don't like saying these names. It's a Zeta ability and an Omicron ability. At the battle start, Captain Tarpals loses 75% max health and gains that much max protection. So expect this to be standard on all Gungans. I believe CG said this as part of Boss Nass's kit reveal. So make sure you're investing in health primaries. Next, whenever Tarpals attacks out of turn, deal bonus true damage equal to 5% of his max protection. That is unevadable. And he and the other Gungan ally are going to recover 10% protection. So this portion here makes Tarpal a strong candidate for being the top option when we get a choice on who attacks out of turn, who we get to call. We will see if the forthcoming generic Gungans are going to supplant him in that regard. The next portion here, whenever Tarpal scores a critical hit, remove 1 stack of recharge. Gungan allies are going to gain 5% defense penetration for 1 turn, stacking for each stack of recharge removed from the allied shield generator. So this could be very powerful, but the specifics on the wording I think are a little muddy. So Tarpals, when he crits, removes recharge, which again from NASA's leader means max protection is stacking, but now Tarpals adds a feature where defense penetration is now stacking. I assume it means for each Gungan between their own turns, they each individually are receiving stacking defense penetration for each stack of recharge removed, which is ongoing. But the sequencing of how they present this mechanic isn't great. Next, Captain Tarpals is going to gain 1% turn meter whenever an enemy is inflicted with a debuff. And whenever a debuffed enemy attacks Tarpals, he will counterattack. So with this, we're going to want to watch out for daze, and if a bunch of Gungans get daze, this might mean he is going to be the top priority if we have a targeted cleanse. But it also suggests to me that his speed is not going to be as high of a priority. We're still going to want him fast, but because of these debuff mechanics, it means he should be getting such a good amount of TM at most times that he can be shifted down in priority in the turn order, and we're going to want somebody like Boss Nass to be more clearly one of the fastest Gungans, at least at this stage where we only know 2 kits. If there is an active shield generator at the start of Tarpal's turn, cleanse debuffs on himself, ignore taunt, and whenever he attacks out of turn, inflict buff immunity. So even though he's going to cleanse daze when he takes his turn, we still want to get rid of the daze if we have the option, because it means he won't be gaining turn meter to get his turn. But the rest of this is kind of nuts. Ignoring taunt as an attacker, very powerful. Plus with his buff dispel, that means someone like Droideka becomes very easy to manage. We don't need to worry about that damage immunity. Then you add in the buff immunity. There's lots to like with this unique. It is very powerful. This last portion here with the Omicron territory battle Omicron. Normally these are skippable, but give this one a moment's thought. We probably need to see the territory that they are going to be exclusive for before you even consider putting this one on. But because this is a new territory and therefore potentially special, this Omicron might be gating some special rewards. We're going to want to see what kind of rewards are on that node and if the Omicron is going to be required to beat this special mission. And in that case, then we're going to want to put this on. So just keep all that in mind. Don't automatically rule this one out. It could turn out to be extremely valuable. Now, in terms of the Omicron itself, at the encounter start, Tarpals gains 20% offense for each active Gungan ally, and all Gungan allies gain crit damage up and 100 max protection. At each turn start, Gungans will remove 1 stack of recharge. First time each Gungan ally falls below 50% health, they're going to recover 100% health and protection. And at the start of Tarpal's turn, if he has more than 50% protection, all Gungans gain offense up, otherwise they gain defense up. And whenever a Gungan ally is dazed or stunned, they cleanse, reset their cooldowns, and gain a bonus turn. So whenever Tarpals scores a critical hit, he also add a stack of plasma shield to the allied shield generator, which is going to help keep that alive. This sounds like a very overpowered Omicron. There's a reason it's going to be territory battles only, so that it's not affecting other game modes like this, because this just sounds like you put it on, Gungans are going to win a territory battle. This will be intense, but we'll need to see if it's required or not. This was a pretty quick one. We're going to wrap this up. Hopefully we get to see a few more Gungans fairly quickly and we can start playing around with this squad. I think though by next week I will have geared up both Nas and Tarpals here, because we at least have 2 characters for synergy. And really what I'm hoping for is we get one more before 3v3 starts so we can really see what this faction looks like in action. But thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other, everybody. This is still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.